I love being in the sun. I'm not afraid of it.
If you can get a quote unquote tan, I think we got to call you a day walker.
I was like four-eyed, freckle face, race face, ginger, who had just about all of it. If these guys don't want me, who's going to want me? And then fast forward to February, here I am walking into the Dodgers spring training Major League clubhouse. I think that's another reason that's driving me to kind of keep going and keep playing and want to keep playing.
All right, Red Turn 2, man. Justin Turner, welcome into Redhead Sports. We usually like to start with the nicknames. Red Turn 2 is a great one. There's a lot of really good ones out there. Explain to us when that first came about and your feelings on the nickname.
Red Turn 2 came about as actually a social media handle. I was with the Mets at the time in spring training, and I had just finally got on Twitter. I say finally, even though it wasn't like it was around for a long time, but trying to come up with a name. At the time, I was a second baseman. My last name's Turner, so Red Turn 2 was kind of a nice little play on words. And the position I was playing at the time, fast forward in my career where I'm playing third base and first base, the turn 2 part of it's a little less frequent, but it kind of stuck.
Yeah, for the brand, you got to stick with it.
Yeah,
at the end of the day. So did the teammates call you Red Turn 2, or would they call you Red Turn, Red? Like, what's that?
Red is more of a childhood nickname.
Yeah.
I've been called Red since I was probably 3 days old,
Okay.
I think. So I know if I hear someone saying Red in a stadium somewhere, I know it's someone from back in the day.
Yeah.
An OG from my childhood. A lot of guys in the clubhouse call me JT, which ironically is my dad's. Everyone calls him JT forever. So, but I'm not the type of guy that likes to go around telling people what to call me. Whatever they say kind of sticks. Playing into my age 40 year, I've been called a lot of older nicknames the last few years, Unk and T.O. and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't like telling people what to call me.
Yeah. You just roll with it.
I just roll with it.
Exactly. Yeah. And we were kind of like to play this little game where we run through all the different redheaded nicknames. So obviously we've got the White Mamba, Brian Scalabrine, Matt Bonner, Red Mamba. We had Dante DiVincenzo in here, Big Ragu. We're going to be talking to Kevin Herter as well. He is Red Velvet, which I think is a great one. If we're ranking here in the pantheon of redhead nicknames, Sean White, we can't forget about that, the Flying Tomato.
Yeah.
Where would you put Red Turn?
Oh, man. I don't know. I think it's tough because it's more of like a social handle than a nickname. So it's probably going to be towards the bottom.
Hey, he's humble, guys. He's humble. You got to keep it real with that.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. And we always wonder, too, like we were talking with Dante, like he's Italian. You don't see a lot of redheaded Italians.
Right.
The simple fact of like redheads in general, we only make up 2% of the population of the world, which is wild, like how rare we are. Where's the redhead in your family come from?
That's a great question. In my family, I'm literally like the only redhead.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. So I don't know where that came from. But in an interesting twist, my wife, her sister's a redhead, her mom's a redhead. And actually a lot of people, when I'm with my wife and her mom, think that her mom is my mom because of the red hair. Obviously, we had our kid, he's 15 months now, Bo, popped out a redhead. So that was kind of not a surprise to anyone that we had a little ginger baby. So
yeah, I've seen the fiery red hair with him. It is like popping. That was like, I'm sure when you were a kid too, was it like the fiery orange red hair as well?
Yeah, I don't think it was as fiery as his though. Yeah. His is like on a whole nother level. It's mind blowing when every time we see him, we're just like, where does it come from? Everyone who comes up and is like, holy cow, like this is some serious red hair. There's no mistaking him.
You guys might have some sort of record for like the biggest concentration of redheads in a single family.
Right.
I mean, that's insane. Yeah. Like walking around, people are probably like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I mean, my wife has some red roots. They're kind of in there. Not a whole lot, but when he was born, first thing I said was, well, I don't need a DNA check. He's definitely mine.
Yeah, he's yours, right? Yeah, exactly. And Justin, like obviously, baseball is an interesting journey of a game. Every sport is, but baseball is one of those ones when you get drafted, you make your way to the minors, and that's a grind, I'm sure. You get drafted by the Reds in 2006. You go to Billings, correct?
Yeah.
What was that experience like? You're at the high of getting drafted. You're like, okay, hey, we're going to Billings. We're going to make this happen. Like the Billings Mustangs.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you?
A lot of different emotions. Obviously, excitement, getting an opportunity to extend my career and see, where I measure up against a bunch of different guys at a whole new level, in the professional level. Scary at the same time. Yeah. You're moving away from home. I went to Cal State Fullerton, which was 15 minutes away from where I grew up. So although I was not living at home, I was always, close to home. But I think one of the best things for me was a roommate of mine from Cal State Fullerton. I lived with him for 4 years. Was also drafted by the Reds, Danny Dorn, and we went up and played in Billings together. So there was some familiarity there. Plus, for whatever reason, it doesn't always work out this way, but that team was very heavy, had a big collegiate presence, right? So Chris Valake from Santa Barbara was there. Drew Stubbs from University of Texas was there. So there was a lot of guys on that team who were college guys that I knew of, who I'd played against, which was comforting. Once you got there, there was a lot of familiarity. It wasn't completely foreign when I got out there.
Yeah, and that's huge to have that little form of community, kind of, especially in the rookie league. So when you're traveling around, I mean, what are those experiences like? Obviously, I know it ain't the same as it is in the show.
It's different. You get to Billings, you get a host family, which was nice. At that time, we weren't making very much money. I think every 2 weeks, getting a paycheck for, $600 or something like that. Not getting very much meal money. So the host family was huge, and they were great. And then the bus rides in that league, it was the Pioneer League. The bus rides were crazy because we were up in Montana and we went as far as down to Utah. So there was some 16-hour bus rides, sleeping on the floor, laying in the back, trying to find a way to get comfortable. But also at the same time, like those were where a lot of the memories come from. Like it's hard to go back and recall plays and games and swings, but you remember, those late bus rides, getting into these little motels that we're staying in and waking up in the morning trying to find cheap lunch, going to CC's Pizza or Subway or something to get some food before the games. And I think it was a great first experience for me in professional baseball. And I think a lot of that was because of the group of guys I was surrounded with. Yeah,
that's cool, man. And like, I just love hearing the origin stories of those things. And from there, you go to Chattanooga, right?
I had a brief stop in High A, which was down in Sarasota, Florida. Okay. And then I got called up in 2007 for the playoffs, and then I started in 2008 down there and then went up to Chattanooga. So brief stop there, then to Chattanooga, Tennessee, which was awesome. Great little baseball town, great facility, loved playing there. And looking back, that was my last season, minor league season with the Reds with those guys. So we had a blast. I lived with Sam LeCure, another guy who played at UT and I was very familiar with, and we actually didn't have a great relationship at the start because we played University of Texas in 2004 in the national championship game and actually beat them. So Sam wasn't a big fan of mine until I got into AA and we ended up living together, and now he's awesome. We have a great relationship.
Yeah. Hey, when you get good teammates, you kind of bury those things. We talked to some guys, there's always, the back and forth, the fights, things like that. But you bury it, after you're on the same team together. And so from there, you got traded, correct? And I think you went to Norfolk, right?
Yeah, I got traded to the Orioles for Ramon Hernandez. I went to the Orioles, got invited to my first major league camp, which was awesome. And again, this was another exciting but scary thing at the time, going into a new organization and not knowing a lot of guys. But I got lucky again. There was two guys at the Orioles who I had grown up with. I'd known since I was 8 years old. So Blake Davis and Scott Moore were there. So going into spring training, first major league camp, getting to stay with those guys, they were very familiar with the organization. So it was another soft landing for me.
Yeah. And then you eventually get the call to the show.
Yeah.
Take me into that moment when you get the phone call, or does, one of your coaches come up to you and tell you? That's got to be an insane moment when you actually hear that for the first time.
Yeah, it was crazy. We finished the season on the road in Durham, North Carolina. We were playing, it was a Rays affiliate. And before we had went on that trip, they actually told all of us, hey, pack up your stuff, pack up your apartment, pack up your car, just everyone drive down to North Carolina. And, we don't know who's going up. We don't know what's happening, and have all your stuff ready, because if you do get that call, you'll go straight from there. So I had my car all packed up, didn't know if I was going home or getting called up. And sure enough, after the last game of the season, got called into the manager's office and let me know I was going up. So, those are words that you kind of dream of hearing your whole life, and get on the phone and you call your family and tell your friends that you're going up, and it's an emotional call. And, it all kind of comes back down to earth because I had to jump in the car from North Carolina. And I think there was 3 of us that got called up. So we caravanned 3 cars, drove up to Baltimore, got in late that night. The next day, the big league team was actually in Boston. So we caught a 6 a.m. flight from Baltimore, went to Boston, and that's where I made my debut.
So by the way, drive, fly, planes, trains, and automobiles, and get ready for the biggest moment of your life. Not just anywhere though, in Fenway.
Right.
That is insane. Take me to the morning of when you finally come to realize what's going on and you're getting ready to go play at Fenway Park.
It was pretty wild. Once all the emotions going through and you're trying to figure everything out, you look at the schedule and obviously and see where you're going. You see Fenway and you see the Red Sox and you're like, oh, this is crazy. And luckily for me, I did play one year summer ball in the Cape League, and we got to go and we played like a Cape League All-Star game or something at Fenway Park. So I'd been there and played there.
Knees weren't shaking as much as.
So, I mean, it didn't help. I was still nerve-wracking, but that whole day was crazy. We landed in Boston and they had us go straight to the field. I believe it was a getaway day. We were leaving that night after the game. So we went straight to the field with all of our stuff. I got to the field at like noon for a 7:00 game. Back then, it was still a 40-man roster in September. So with the expansion, the call-up guys didn't even get to take like a regular batting practice. We had early BP at like 1:00.
Jeez.
And then sitting around in the clubhouse all day. The game goes on. I think we were getting beat like 8-0 or 8-1 or something like that. It was the 8th inning comes around and they told me I was going to pinch hit for Melvin Mora. Clay Buchholz was pitching. He was absolutely carving. There was one out in the 8th inning when I walk up to hit. Victor Martinez is catching. I step in the box or go to step in the box and Victor's like, hey man, first at bat. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, congratulations, good luck, have a great career. I'm like, all right, cool. And again, it's 8-0, I think, maybe 10-0.
Yeah.
And in the 8th inning with one out, and I'm stepping in for my first at bat. Clay Buchholz shakes off twice and throws me a first pitch curveball. So I was like, oh wow, I guess this is the big leagues here. And, they're just going to throw anything at any time. So I ended up striking out on a changeup, and I didn't even know he threw a changeup. So that's where the scouting reports were at that time. But yeah, something I'll never forget.
That's awesome. And then, so that's one legendary moment for you, the first of many for you. But then you go and get your first hit in another legendary place at Yankee Stadium. Like, that is also just wild to me to have those two ballparks be such a part of your story. Take us into that game, the first hit at Yankee Stadium. What do you remember about that moment?
I think that one is even more legendary on so many levels. First of all, it was September 11th in New York. So there was a huge ceremony, obviously, for 9/11, all the first responders on the field, which was really cool. And then Derek Jeter broke the all-time Yankee hit record in that game.
Wow.
There was also like an hour and a half or 2 hour rain delay before the game started. During the game, there was another long rain delay. And I think after the second rain delay, again, this was September when there was 40 guys up. So it was basically like a full line change. They took all the starters out of the game, put everyone else in. I think I got my first hit in Yankee Stadium at 1:17 in the morning. And there was probably about 500 people in the stands. But yeah, Michael Dunn, base hit up the middle, have the ball. My parents were there. My grandma was there. So it was a cool memory. And like I said, there was a lot of cool things that night that got to be a part of.
That's got to be the record for the latest first hit ever.
Yeah, it might be actually. You might have to look that one up.
Yeah, that's insane. And forget about Jeter's record. I think everyone's more worried about Jeter's. At least in the Redhead Army, everybody's all about that one for sure. I'm always curious too to hear, like, your rookie season, in the league in any league is always tough, I'm sure. Are there any vets that really stood out to you over that time that kind of took you under their wing and showed you the ropes?
Yeah, so going up into Baltimore, there were some older guys there. Ty Wigington was probably the best to me out of everyone there. But there was other great guys. Adam Jones, who I'm still pretty close with and talk to all the time. Nick Markakis was there, who is, if you look at his career, probably super underrated. Didn't say a whole lot, but he always treated me well. Brian Roberts was there, who was fantastic. There were so many guys. Cesar Asturis was fantastic. So a lot of great guys. Matt Wieters, who I played against in college, was already there. That was a little comforting to, again, have another guy that you're familiar with. So it wasn't bad, actually. Sometimes you hear a lot of like hazing stories and treating the young guys. I think I actually had it better than most people for that time of baseball, just because mainly I think Ty Wigington had a lot to do with that. He got treated pretty poorly as a rookie. And I don't think he wanted, to reciprocate that with young guys. So, he kind of looked after me.
So you lucked out there. And we might have already hit on this, but I'm curious, was there like a welcome to the show moment for you throughout that year, other than maybe the first hit or the first at bat?
The first hit was cool, but the next day, I think it was the next day or getaway day, was a day game in Yankee Stadium. And Melvin Mora was a late scratch, like 40 minutes before the game. And so they came in and told me, hey, you're playing third. I said 40 minutes before the game, I was starting in Yankee Stadium. CC Sabathia was pitching. I think I ended up going 1 for 2 in that game with 2 walks, and I scored from second on a sac fly. Jeff Fiorentino hit a fly ball to left field with 1 out, and Johnny Damon forgot the outs, and I ended up tagging up and scoring from second. So that was cool. But the pinch me moment, like, holy, was you get in the box and Jorge Posada's there. You get to first base and Mark Teixeira's there. You get to second and it's Cano and Jeter. And you get to third, A-Rod's there. You're just like, oh my gosh, this is wild. And then also, playing third base. I was a second baseman and a shortstop my whole career. I think I had played maybe 1 game in the minor leagues, 2 games in the minor leagues at third base. And I am getting my first major league start at third base. And you got, Jeter, A-Rod, Teixeira, these guys step in the box and they feel like they're about 10 feet from you. So
yeah,
that was there were some nerves going.
Every base just getting slapped in the face with heavy hitters left and right. Like that's insane. I can only imagine as a young guy in the league. And now I wonder too, for you, the age you're at in the league too, like now having that role of being one of the guys that some guys are probably doing that too as well. Is that kind of weird? Sitting back, realizing like I'm one of those guys and now I get to kind of pour myself into some of them.
Yeah, it's definitely something that, at the time, I never would have imagined I would be the guy who is, 15 plus years in the big leagues and playing till I'm 40 and having all these young guys who, I was playing college ball when they were born on the same team as me and coming to me and bouncing questions and talking about hitting and different thoughts and stuff. And it's something that I think keeps me going and keeps the drive in me alive are those conversations and the ability to be a sounding board and help these young guys in their career hopefully become as successful as they possibly can be. I absolutely love it. I live for it. I do it every single day, and it makes you feel, I guess, appreciated. All right, when guys are going out of their way to come up to you and ask you questions, it makes you feel like you were doing things the right way.
Yeah, and it's very clear, like you're one of the good dudes. You give back everywhere that you've been too. And obviously you win the Roberto Clemente Award too for your service and everything like that. What did that mean to you to be able to do that? Because not only are you pouring into players, but you're pouring into these communities that you're in.
My wife Courtney and I definitely don't take for granted the opportunity that we've gotten, the length of the career that I've been blessed with. And, a lot of that stems from the support of so many fans and all these different cities, all these great cities that I've gotten to play in. So it's not something that we take lightly, and everywhere we go, we try to give back to the cities, to the fans, do whatever we can, whether it's going into a school, going into a hospital, helping feed homeless veterans, whatever it may be, to be able to give back and say thank you for giving us a chance to live out a childhood dream and play baseball for a living and support us, right? And it's not by any means a cheap date night to come to a baseball game, right? So we understand that it takes a lot for families and fans to get to ball games. And so whatever chance we get to give back and lift people up, we try to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and you've obviously been able to do a lot through the Justin Turner Foundation. Do you remember the first time you were able to give back when you were like, hey, I'm finally in a position financially and status-wise to be able to do this? What was that, and how great did that feel to be able to pour into those people?
Yeah, I think it was in 2016. This organization in LA called the Los Angeles Dream Center came to us with this idea. They have this, it's an old hospital building in LA right off the freeway. And there's 15, 16 floors in this building. And they have all kinds of unbelievable programs that serve the community every single day. What they do is truly a miracle in the city of Los Angeles. And they came to us with this idea that they wanted to open a homeless veterans floor. So an entire floor dedicated to homeless veterans, and they need to raise some money quick to be able to open it. And they said, hey, what if we, did this golf tournament and try to raise a bunch of money, and all the funds will go to helping us open this program. So my wife and I, along with the Dream Center, put together the first annual Justin Turner Golf Classic.
That's cool.
And we hosted it at Brookside Country Club. And if anyone isn't familiar with LA, that's basically the parking lot of the Rose Bowl.
Wow. Oh yeah, I do know that one.
Right, the golf course right there, right? So
I parked there before. Yeah.
And not to knock Brookside, they were fantastic, and they brought us in and they helped us get everything set up, and they hosted a great event for us, and we were successful. I don't know exactly how much money we raised, close to $100,000. Got the men's program opened. And that was eye-opening to us. Like, now, we can put together our own events. We can raise our own money. We can pick and choose the programs we want to go out and have an impact on and lift people up that we want to lift up, instead of, and again, not knocking anything on the team, but usually how it works is, the team has a community, program and a foundation through the team, and they'll come in once a homestand and be like, hey, we have this thing coming up at a school. Do you want to go read a book? Hey, we have this thing coming up at the children's hospital. Do you want to go in and visit some kids? And you kind of have to sit around and wait for them to come to you with an opportunity. But this kind of flipped the script, right? Like now, hey, we can do these events, we can raise our own money, and we can decide when we want to go in and visit the kids in the hospital. We can decide when we want to open a women's home alongside the men's home a couple years later, which we actually ended up doing. We can decide, how to raise money, how to get out in the community, how to impact people. So that was really like a turning point in our philanthropy was them coming to us and kind of opening the door with this opportunity to host a golf tournament. Now we're going on. This year will be our 9th annual golf classic, and it's getting bigger and better every year. We bring in almost $1 million every time we host it, and just the reach and the ability to impact people has grown exponentially, and it's been truly a remarkable experience. And like you said, it led to being awarded the Roberto Clemente Award, which is, in my opinion, the highest honor you can get on a baseball field. Obviously, there's a lot of cool things that you can have on the back of your baseball card, stats and World Series and All-Star games, but being recognized for the work that you do in the community and helping lift people up, I think is second to none.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of athletes, and they all say no matter what sport it is, that those are always the biggest ones for them to be able to give back. And it's so cool that you've been able to do that. And like I said, you've been able to do that in so many places as well. One of those places, New York, where you played for a long time as well. What was it like playing in the Big Apple for the Mets? I mean, that's a crazy thing, especially for a kid from LA going all the way across the country, and now you're rocking the Mets.
Yeah, it was funny, right? I think I was still young then, right? Still considered a rookie in 2011 when I got called back up. And I think I had been to New York one other time and I hated it. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what direction I was going. I didn't understand the subways. It was not a good experience when I went in there as a road player. I was just like, you know what? I'm staying in my hotel room. I'm getting on the bus. I'm going to the field. I'm coming back. Like, I'm not leaving. But then getting the opportunity to go play for the Mets and, live in the city and kind of understand it and get to know it. It was amazing. Loved every minute of it. I think, where we stayed on 66th and First Avenue on the Upper East Side, we had everything we can possibly need within 2 or 3 blocks of us. I figured out how to get around. I figured out where everything was. The people there are phenomenal. And the team I was on, although we didn't win a lot of games and weren't successful in the win department, like, it was one of the best group of guys I've ever been around. So a lot of my really good friends I still have to this day are guys from that New York Mets team. So
that's cool.
It was really cool.
Were there any places, everybody loves the food in New York, any places that come to mind that were like, this was my spot in New York where I went every time?
The pizza in New York was fantastic.
Yeah.
So where we live, there was a place called Pizza Park right across the street that we would eat all the time. And it was, I don't do it now. I haven't had dairy in 7 or 8 years, but the pizza was incredible. And now, there's just so many good restaurants there and you really can't go wrong wherever you go. And they're popping up left and right too, right? Like there's new restaurants, I feel like every week popping up that you can go in and the food is incredible and whatever you have a taste for. I lived with Ike Davis for 3 years and he has one of the craziest palates I've ever seen in my life. And he's like, oh, I'm going to get Afghanistan food. I'm going to get Argentinian tonight. Oh, I'm going to Italian. There was a place called Michael's in New York that Ike was pretty good friends with the owner of it, Michael. We went there quite a bit. That was probably one of the better spots.
Yeah.
It was cool. You get to go down and take us down in the basement and there was like a room down there and it's like, there was pretty sure there was some Italian mafia going down there, some mobsters meeting in these rooms and stuff. And that was probably one of our favorites.
Give you some Italian and an offer you can't refuse.
There you go.
Yeah, which is cool. You don't get that experience anywhere else but New York too.
Right.
I feel the fact you got to do it there was so cool. And then obviously your time in New York comes to an end, and I was doing the research for you with this, and you're hitting in an alumni game at Fullerton, right?
Right.
And the Dodgers bench coach sees you?
That was definitely a big part of it. Tim Wallach, who was an alumni at Cal State Fullerton and was the bench coach for the Dodgers at the time, and asked me what I was doing, and I told him I still didn't have a job.
Yeah.
So he said he was going to go in and put in a good word for me. I was also kind of revamping my swing at the time, and I was hitting with a guy named Marlon Byrd. Marlon Byrd played with Michael Young on the Texas Rangers. Michael Young at that time was with the Dodgers, and he was contemplating whether he was going to come back or not, thinking about retiring, staying home with the kids. And Marlon Byrd had told me, he's like, hey, Michael Young isn't sure what he's going to do, but he's like, I'm pretty sure, I think that if he ends up retiring, the Dodgers are going to come knocking. So whatever you do, like, don't make a decision on where you go until Michael makes his decision, because like, how cool would that be if, you know, the Dodgers came in? And sure enough, Michael retired. A few hours later, the Dodgers called, made an offer. I had to make a decision between, it was the Dodgers, the Red Sox, and the Twins were all in, all kind of similar offers. And really, I mean, obviously the Dodgers were a hometown team, but the big difference there was the Dodgers were a National League team at the time.
Yeah.
So I looked at their bench players, and they all had, you know, between 250 and 350 at bats, versus looking at, you know, the Red Sox bench players and the Twins bench players, and those guys were getting like 80, 90, 100 at bats. And I was like, well, I'm going to go where the opportunity is best. So it was definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Yeah, because obviously we know what happened with your career when you got to LA. But I'm curious, in that moment, even though you're trying to sit there and think about it analytically and all those things, is it hard to take out the fact of being a Southern California kid and the Dodgers are on the table here? And like, what goes into that process really when you're like, how do I remove that emotional aspect of it?
It was hard. And I think, you know, the saving grace was having my wife there with me at the time. We were actually dating at the time, so we weren't married yet. But her thing was like, well, let's make a list, pros and cons of all these places, and figure it out. And there were obviously pros and cons everywhere. But I think at the end of the day, what it came down to, more than just it being getting to play at home and getting to come back to LA and spend summers in LA, was the opportunity to have at bats as a bench player. Yeah. So if it were today, where there isn't pitchers hitting in the National League, and, you know, there's a universal DH now, that list might have looked a little different, and it would have made that decision a lot more difficult. But it was pretty cut and dry at the time.
You remember the first time you put on Dodger blue as a pro?
I do. It was in spring training.
Yeah.
Spring training, and walking into a clubhouse. Well, actually, when I first got to the spring training facility, I didn't know where I was going. I went to the minor league side. I was getting dressed in the minor league side, and they had to tell me like, "Hey, you're over here." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool,
sweet." They didn't demote me.
But talk about another like pinch me moment. I had just gotten let go by the Mets, who at the time, over those 3 years I was there, probably one of the worst teams in baseball. You know, when that happens, stuff goes through your head. Like, if these guys don't want me, who's going to want me? And then fast forward to February, here I am walking into the Dodgers spring training major league clubhouse. And I'm looking around, and it's Adrian Gonzalez, Hanley Ramirez, Juan Uribe, Matt Kemp, Andre Ethier, Zach Greinke, Clayton Kershaw,
heavy hitters,
Kenley Jansen, Brandon League, JP Howell. You know, the list goes on and on and on. Josh Beckett. It's like, what am I doing here? Sean Figgins was like, I don't know if I belong here, right? Like, I just got cut by one of the worst teams in baseball.
Yeah.
And here I am walking into this room full of all-stars, perennial all-stars. I'm like, oh boy, like I better get serious fast in this room.
Talk about imposter syndrome maybe a bit. Right. How did you overcome that? Like, how do you just like, hey, put my head down and go play? Or like, what's that like?
It was hard too, because like I said, I was going through a swing change.
Yeah.
Right. So I completely revamped my whole swing. So I'm going out here trying to make this team full of all-stars while I have a completely different swing going through it. My hitting, or my manager's Don Mattingly.
Yeah.
My hitting guy's Mark McGuire. I have these guys watching me every day, you know, evaluating me, you know, trying to figure out if I'm good enough to make the team, while I'm doing something completely different than I had done the previous 3.5 years, which is probably part of the reason why they brought me in. There was some back and forth on like trusting the work that I had put in the off season, knowing that it was the right thing to do. And also like playing the game with the coaches who are telling me, hey, you can't do that. You can't do this. You need to do this. You need to do that. And it was, that part of it was really challenging.
Yeah.
Like really sticking to and trusting, you know, everything that I had done that offseason and seeing it play out.
I could only imagine. You mentioned Mark McGuire, another ginger. This is Redhead Sports after all. So we got to highlight that. What was that relationship like between you and Mark?
It was great. He's unbelievable. Just a student of the game, loves being around it, loves, you know, talking about hitting. His attention to detail was incredible. And obviously the amount of respect that you have for him just when you walk in the door, knowing who he is pretty jaw-dropping, right? You're just like, oh man, like I'm literally getting flipped to by Mark McGuire. I'm literally picking up baseballs with Mark McGuire. Like Mark's telling me I got to do this and this and this. Like, you know, it's another pinch me moment.
I could only imagine, as a guy that's still trying to find his footing as a regular time pro now, while revamping the swing and everything. And there's this guy, one of the greatest hitters of all time.
Greatest gingers of all time.
Exactly. Well, so you actually lead me right into what I want to talk about here. The Mount Rushmore of redheads is something we do here on the show. I know Mark is going to make an appearance on there. I always have to Google this to make sure I get it right. There are 4 heads on Mount Rushmore. Let's get your Mount Rushmore of redheads. We'll start with Mark, obviously. So we got 3 slots opening up, and this can be any sport in any era. But there's some good baseball players with red hair too.
Well, I think my first question would be, is a broadcaster considered sports? Because, I mean, Vin Scully would have to be on that. I think what he's done for the game of baseball obviously qualifies him.
For Vin, I think we can make an exception.
Right.
Nobody else even touches the level that Vin has done, especially the impact that he's had in any sports, especially with baseball. As a kid who grew up in LA, we'll throw Vin up there as well.
Trying to spread it out a little bit. Yeah. Probably Canelo would probably be up there.
There you go.
Boxing.
We got one more slot open. This is a big deal.
It's hard. Rusty Staub is obviously on the baseball side of it. Claude Giroux. Think of him. Hockey, Ginger.
This is impressive. You're doing better than some of the other guys have had in naming the Ginger. So you're very tapped into the Ginger culture in sports. We appreciate that.
Yeah, Blake Griffin. Yeah, obviously. Alexi Lawless was a massive
in soccer.
I played soccer all the way up until high school. He was always one of the main reasons I watched him play all the time.
That's cool.
So that 4th spot's going to be tough.
It's a hard one to nail down.
It's going to be tough.
We haven't even mentioned Shaun White either.
Shaun White, yeah.
I mean, what he's done for just snow sports in general, the Olympics from an American standpoint, is insane.
I think Shaun White's got to be up there just for his reach and everything he did. I'd put Shaun White up there in the 4th spot.
Yeah, he's going to be a real popular one. Yeah. And you kind of mentioned, growing up watching some guys. Like, did you gravitate towards more of the redheaded athletes? Like, was that a thing for you growing up?
Yes and no. Yeah. I mean, obviously you see what they're doing and you appreciate it. As a high school kid who wore glasses, had braces, freckle face, ginger, you always appreciated the famous gingers who were doing it and knowing that they kind of went through what you were going through and overcame it. So yeah, you kind of pay attention.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into that a little bit because obviously people poke fun at us sometimes, What was that like growing up as a ginger? Like you said, redhead, freckles, braces, the whole 9. I mean, I had that as well.
Right.
Was it tough growing up like that sometimes?
I mentioned we have a 15-month-old and who has the most fiery redhead hair I've ever seen, and everywhere we go, everyone loves him. Yeah, adorable. He's adorable. He's so cute. Oh my gosh, I want to bottle up that hair. And my wife and I have this conversation all the time. Like, when does that stop?
Yeah.
When does it turn? When does it turn into the getting bullied part of it?
Oh yeah.
And I did experience, like I said, I went into my freshman year of high school wearing glasses. I had braces. So I was literally like 4-eyed, freckle face, brace face, ginger who had just about all of it. And I think I just kind of threw myself into baseball, and I had my set of good friends that they were kind of all I cared about, and that was, I didn't worry about anything else.
Yeah.
I did my thing.
At what point did you, I guess, fully become comfortable with yourself and who you were, that you were different than most other people?
Well, I got a funny story about being a redhead. I actually, my freshman year of college, I was playing in the College World Series.
Okay.
I got hit in the face by a pitch. So busted up my face, broke my ankle on the same play, ended up coming home, spent the summer in Fullerton, working baseball camps and stuff. But everywhere I was going, it was people like, oh, you're the guy that got hit in the face. You're the guy that got hit in the face. You're the guy that got hit in the face. You're the guy. And I got so fed up with it, I actually dyed my hair.
Really?
I dyed my hair like a dark brown.
That's a cardinal sin, dude.
And my dad was pissed. He wanted to kick me out. He's like, dude, don't ever do that. I learned my lesson. And, I think those middle years are tough, but in the beginning, like where Bo's at right now, my son, like it's adorable. And then I think when you get older, I can't tell you how many older women still come up to me and say, hey man, I wish I can get that color in a bottle. Like, always. I want that hair. And I don't know if that's a cool thing or not.
Right.
I don't know if that's anything to brag about, but I appreciate it. I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it as much as I can now, because if you look closely in the beard, it's starting to go white.
Yeah.
I think that's one advantage that gingers have, though. We don't go gray.
Exactly. We're not supposed to, right?
We go white. So,
which I think is sick. Like sprinkle in some of the white with the gingerness in there. I mean, it's not a bad look at all. There's a lot of crazy things about us, obviously.
Yeah.
One of the things is that we need more anesthesia, apparently. Have you ever experienced that? So you got smoked in the face with a ball. Like when I was a kid, I went to the dentist and they didn't give me enough when they put me under, and I woke up.
Right.
One of the most traumatizing experiences of my life.
Yeah.
And so now anytime I have to go and they got to put me under, I'm either like, don't do it or double whatever it is. Have you ever experienced that?
Well, it's funny because I think we do have a higher pain tolerance.
Yeah.
I think we handle stuff a little bit better than most, but I have had some experiences where like I'm getting a shot in my knee and they take out the cold spray and they're spraying me and I literally get like a freaking burn on my knee for like, and it's there for like 2 or 3 weeks just from the cold spray.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, we got to take it easy on the cold spray. Like, and they're like, well, we're trying to numb you up because whatever. And it's like, no, but like, I don't want frostbite on my knee right now. And then adhesive stuff too, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever had to like tape up, like, you know, runners use this kinesio tape or stuff like that. So I've used kinesio tape throughout my career and it leaves a mark. Like I'm literally have like, I have welts and like burns from the adhesive of the kinesio tape for like 2 weeks. So it doesn't go away. Yeah. And then last part of it is just the bruising. The bruising is insane. Like
it's ridiculous.
We bruise like no one else. It's great. We're like a 2-week-old banana or something.
We really are though. Like it's crazy. It's like I do jujitsu and like I'll come home with bruises and my girlfriend's like, which bruises do we have today now?
Right.
And it's like they'll pop up all the time. Like you look at us wrong and we get a bruise.
Obvious ones or whatever, right? Like you get hit or you hit something, but then like you just wake up sometimes and my wife's like, what's that? And I was like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like I must have bumped into something. I don't know. It's just like, it looks like you got hit by a ball, like smoked. Like, no, I must have just like bumped in the corner of a table or something, you know?
Yeah. And at least she can relate.
We bruise terribly.
Yeah. It's one of the many ridiculous things about being a ginger. That's for sure. There are also levels to being a ginger.
Right.
You know, there's like the day walkers. There's the people that are like ginger, you know, where like you go outside, you need sunscreen.
Right.
Where do you fall in that category? How would you classify yourself?
I have my shirt off as much as I can. I think I burn easy, just like everyone else, but I think I handle it well and it turns into, I don't want to call it a tan. Like we don't tan.
Yeah, we don't.
But I think my complexion is a little darker than most gingers just because I'm out in the sun every single day playing baseball. So I love being outside. I love having my shirt off. I love being in the sun. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not like the guy from Bench Warmers hiding in the closet, you know. I wouldn't consider myself a day walker.
Nah, oh man. Well, if you can get a quote unquote tan, I think we got to call you a day walker. You know? I consider myself one of the day walkers. I can at least develop a little bit of tan. It's the half Italian in me.
I think the debate always comes in is like, oh, are you actually tanning or is those just your freckles are getting bigger and connecting, right? Like, no, you're just freckling. You're not tanning.
Dude, I say the thing all the time. If my freckles all came together, I'd have a better tan than most people out there.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
We also get more freckles as we tan too, which is also just a wild thing that the complexion changes.
Exactly.
It makes zero sense to me.
Yeah.
Again, just many of the strange things about being us.
One thing we're trying to figure out as parents with a redheaded kid is like, and I don't remember this, is like, when do the freckles start coming? Like, because our son doesn't have any right now. And it's not that he's not out in the sun. Obviously we limit him out there. He's 15 months old, but like, I'm not sure when the freckles start coming. And my wife has great complexion and great skin. Yeah. So I'm like crossing my fingers. I'm like, oh man, did he miss the ginger skin gene and get my wife's? That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious too. Cause like I go back and I look at pictures of me when I was a kid, always sunglasses with like the sensitive eyes, the hats. Like you're just like, anytime you go outside, are you doing that with Bo or what's the deal there?
We put hats on and sunglasses. He's pretty good about them. He'll eventually get tired and rip them off. Yeah. We obviously try to keep him as limited as possible, but he loves being in the pool. He loves being at the beach. He loves water, so that's something he's gonna deal with.
Yeah. I'm curious too. Like we've asked a couple of the guys, and it's not very common again because we only make up 2% of the population. Like, have you ever played with any other gingers?
Yeah, this year, Owen Casey.
Oh, there you go.
Owen Casey's a ginger from Canada.
There you go.
So just like my son. My son was actually born in Toronto last year.
Oh,
so
nice.
They have that in common. Ginger Canadians.
Interesting. So did you guys bond a bit on being gingers in the clubhouse or what? What's the deal there?
Yeah, I took extra special care of him. I talked to him a little bit more. Dustin May is another one. He's with the Red Sox now. He was with the Dodgers. We played together. So, and I think the other thing is classifying gingers, right? Like there's some like gingers. And then, if you go on like Google and you type in like, give me the top 20 gingers, they're putting some guys on the list that you're like, wait, this guy's not a ginger.
Yeah.
Like,
for the show, many times we've had to sit down and be like, wait, is this guy actually a ginger? Right. We're zooming into the hair to make sure if it's auburn enough or red, like how... It's hard to classify it.
Well, a lot of guys, they have that auburn in their beard.
Yeah.
So they're like, I'm ginger.
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
You got to have it up top too. You got to have the lettuce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you obviously have the great beard. I see you've cut it a bit here.
I did trim it down.
But man, how much has the beard become just so much your signature too, though?
Part of the identity, I think, playing baseball, as long as I play, it's part of my brand. So, people ask me all the time, would you shave? Like, if I'm playing baseball, while I'm playing baseball, like, the beard is going to be a part of it, because it's part of the brand and part of who I am. And I love having it. And I respect all the guys on the field that have good beards.
No, you have to, for sure, because it's incredible. I would love to be able to grow one out, but I never can. I'd have to take like 2-3 years in order to do it. But speaking of just part of the brand, part of that as well is that you played for the Dodgers as long as you did. An awesome experience where your career really took off. I believe, 2016, you played a career high games, 151, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Sounds right. We do the research here on Redhead Sports, right? we make sure we're thorough with this. And so I'm curious, though, with you, why do you think your career turned around at that point? You really started taking off there at that time, because then the following year you're an all-star, and it just is like from there a meteoric rise in the sport.
A lot of it is luck, right?
Yeah.
I think if you go around to minor league stadiums, AAA stadiums right now, the talent is all the highest level it's ever been. The game's in a great place right now with talent. But a lot of times, guys just don't get their chance or their opportunity. And everything I went through in my career, I've been traded, I've been designated for assignment, I've been non-tendered, all things that I thought were going to be the end of me. But it turned out those things were all part of my journey that led to this golden opportunity that I got with the Dodgers. I committed to the swing change that offseason in 2013, got the opportunity with the Dodgers. The swing changes worked out and paid off. I think I hit 340 as a bench player my first year there in 2014, and got the chance to come back and was a bench player again in 2015. And unfortunately, there was a couple injuries that allowed me to start playing every day towards the end of 2015, and I was able to just capture that moment and take advantage of it, and played well enough that, they gave me the starting third baseman job. I shouldn't say gave it. I earned the starting third baseman job in 2016, and just kind of kept building for it. And I think the most important thing was I never took it for granted. I never assumed that, that's it. I made it. Like, I got it. It was continuing to work, continuing to try to get better, obviously chasing the world championship and trying to bring one back to LA because they hadn't had one since the 80s. And
it's crazy growing up out there with the Dodgers not having one for as long as they did, and then you guys get it done.
And that's all we heard about.
Yeah.
All you hear about is that 88 team, and you hear about those guys. And so just the quest to bring a championship back to LA kept driving me and continuing to grow. And then once you've been doing it for that long, the experiences that I had, I think, helped me just connect to so many guys in the clubhouse, young guys, old guys. Everything that they were going through, I had already been through. So it was so easy for me to have conversations with guys and help them be comfortable and help them, cope and deal and make the right decisions on how to deal with things.
Yeah. And so 17, 18, right? You guys go back-to-back World Series. Obviously came up short, but just those experiences playing in the World Series, what was that like? Because that's got to be an insane moment again. Not only the fact that you're doing it in the sport that you've wanted to play your entire life, but doing it in a Dodgers jersey as well.
Yeah, it was painful. It was painful. Obviously, you work to all season long, all off season to go win a championship, and to get to those last games and fall short, it sucked. And it was emotional after 17. It was really emotional after 18. I think it's the hardest tournament in all in sports to be the last team standing in, just because whatever it says on paper doesn't matter. You still got to go out and play. And, you get there 2 years in a row and you don't finish the job, and you just wonder if you'll ever get a chance to get there again.
Yeah.
And so those 2 years were tough. Those 2 years were tough. And you can only say, we got to use this as motivation so many times to get better. Like after you keep saying it over and over and over again, like, it's like, okay, like, that's not it. Like, we got to figure something else out. So it was great. Don't get me wrong. Like, playing in the World Series is every kid's dream.
Yeah.
But like, no one dreams about losing it.
No, those moments sucked for sure. But then luckily a couple of years later, you guys go, you break through, you win. How would you describe that? Was it more of a relief, or was it like a hell yeah, we just brought a championship back to LA, let's go?
That was an interesting one as well because of the whole COVID stuff. I actually got pulled off the field in game 6 with 2 innings to go. So that was quite the emotional roller coaster for me as well. Working to finally win a championship and to not be able to be out there and celebrate with my teammates was crushing to me. I think obviously excited that it was accomplished, excited that there's a championship coming back to LA, excited that, our fans are going to get to celebrate it, which actually they didn't because the COVID, there was no parade, there was no anything. Wild. That was another day of just mixed emotions. It was really, really tough on Court and I, and we were sitting back in this little doctor's office in the back of the stadium, watching it from a camera that was, way up above the press box. So we didn't even have the live game feed on. So it was emotional. So I think that's another reason that's driving me to kind of keep going and keep playing and want to keep playing, is wanting to win a championship and be able to be on the field or at least in the dugout and run out there and celebrate it and experience a parade.
Yeah.
And what that's all about. Because, we didn't get any of that.
No, yeah, which it sucks to have that ripped away from you for sure. When did it finally click after the fact that like, hey, I was a part of this team that did this? Like, at what point did it really sink in? Yeah,
there were still some cool moments. Obviously, the next year, opening day, we wear the gold jerseys. Yeah. We have the ring ceremony where we get our rings, which was awesome, and got to do that in front of our fans. So that stuff was all amazing. And it's something that'll never, ever be taken away from us. Like, we accomplished what every kid dreams of accomplishing. Just the little intricacies of the championship that none of us got to experience in 20, I think. Yeah, it's tough.
When you talk to Dodgers fans now, like about just that 2020 season, what are the interactions like?
Honestly, I don't know how many interactions I've had talking about
Where's the Dodgers fans? Yeah, come on, man.
I think my relationship with Dodgers fans has been fantastic. And I got the opportunity last year to go back there for the first time since leaving, and the standing ovation and the video that they played for me, and just the amount of, Turner 10 jerseys in the stands that are even today still walking around Dodger Stadium is kind of like mind blowing to me that, they're still wearing my jersey around there. My relationship with Dodger fans has been remarkable. Yeah. I think they've been so great to me and my family. And like I said, 9 years of showing up and cheering and rooting for us and supporting our foundation. And anytime we ask them of anything, they've always stepped up, including, my first All-Star game came down to a fan vote and ended up over 20 million votes, which I think set a record.
I think it did, which is crazy.
Which is like something I'll forever be grateful for Dodger fans for sending me to my first All-Star game. So they're fantastic, and I'll always love them, and hopefully, they'll always love me back.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you want the respect of your peers, you have that, but to get that from the fans, like that has to mean a lot that they're backing you that much and they get you in. And not only that, but doing it, it's such a big number record wise.
I think that just is a testament that you're going out there every night and you're playing the game the right way, and you're playing hard, and fans know. The fans are smart. They watch a lot of games, and they can recognize guys who play with their hair on fire.
You see what you did there? I like that. Clip that one, put it on social. That was great. I am curious though too, because like you're a guy, utility player. You played a lot of different positions throughout your career. At one point with the Dodgers, you even pitched.
Yeah.
How insane was that moment for you? Take us back to that moment, because that is wild. Like, what's going through your head when they tell you, "Yo, we're gonna put you on the bump"?
Actually, it was only like a 5-run game. We were losing 5-0, and our bullpen was spent at the time, and they had talked about it. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'll do it. And I think Dave was actually going to like go back on it. And he was like, no, I'll just get, someone else up. We'll just throw one of our guys. And I was like, no, dude, like I got it. Like I got it. And what a lot of people don't know is I actually hit, I think with runners in scoring position, had a chance to like make the game closer. Like I think it was like second and third, 2 outs or something like that. And I popped up on the infield. And so I was pissed. And so when I went back out to pitch, like I still had to ask, because I popped up, and I was like, man, but that was awesome. Like I gave up 2 hits. I threw 11 pitches, I think 10 strikes. I got a ground ball to first, and I did the PFP. I covered first base. So
textbook.
It was, didn't give up a run, 0 ERA. And it's something I'm proud of. And I walked back in the dugout, and I think after the game, I went into Dave's office, and I was just like, hey man, thank you for that opportunity. Like, that's a once in a lifetime chance. I just checked a huge box on my bucket list.
Yeah.
but I will never do that again. I'm sitting on my 0 ERA.
So when I was doing the research for this, when I saw it said you hit a top speed of 76 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's
straight gas.
That was
here.
Probably my best ball. I probably was trying.
Right? You didn't want to try and put that on display again?
No, it was good. I threw 10 of 11 strikes, and the one ball I threw, I tried to throw a changeup and I threw a ball. So I was like, yeah. But I pitch all the time, like flat grounds and mess around, throw pitches and stuff. But I'm sitting on the 0 ERA. Like I'm never gonna mess that up.
Yeah, you got to take that one to the grave, man. To be able to go down and say 0 ERA, like that's huge, right there.
The Dodgers actually did a bobblehead for me.
Did they?
Of me pitching. It was great. And I think I had like wristbands on, and I pitched it with my sunglasses on.
No way.
I think that was kind of cool.
That's pretty sick, dude. Yeah. Like, what an experience to be able to do that. And
just great.
Again, so cool doing it for the Dodgers. I know we keep harping on that, but as an LA kid, like I know how much that probably means to you to be able to do that. And then obviously fast forward now, you play this season with the Cubs, another legendary organization. That's got to be an insane thing to kind of wrap your head around too. Just when you maybe take a look back, I don't know if you are a big reflection guy at all, to be able to point to all these insane organizations you've had a chance to play for.
Yeah, it's been unreal, honestly.
Yeah.
Again, going back to, when I first got drafted by the Reds, which was like, holy cow, like I'm getting a chance to go play professional baseball. Never in my wildest dreams would I thought that I'd still be playing to this day and have had the chance to put on the uniform of so many great organizations. So even this year, in the off season, not knowing what was going to happen, actually having to, call the Cubs, call counsel and talk to Jed and try to convince them that I was okay to come in here and take a lesser role than I had the last 10, 12 years. Because they were like, dude, we don't have a lot of at-bats. We have a full-time DH. We have 3, legit outfielders, first baseman's a stud. So there's not a lot of at-bats here. And I had to convince them, like, hey, I want to come here. I want to help. I'll do whatever you guys ask me of, and I just want to win. I want to win a World Series. Like, bring me in here. Like, I would love to be a Cub, and I'm so thankful and grateful that they listened to me and believed me, and got a chance to wear this uniform. Had some pretty cool moments.
Yeah.
This season, I had a walk-off double against the Marlins. I had a walk-off homer. My first regular season walk-off homer because I hit one against the Cubs in 17. But, some big moments. And then getting the chance to be a Cub for playoff games in Wrigley Field was wild.
Incredible.
I mean, the atmosphere was absolutely bananas. Like, fans are nuts. And one thing you'll notice, I think I've told a lot of people this, but one thing you notice about Wrigley Field and Fenway is there's never any prompts on the scoreboards. There's never any thing saying, hey, fans, you got to stand up and cheer. Hey, make some noise. Like, they just know when to do it. And these playoff games, we have 5 playoff games here? Shoot. They might have sat in their seats for about 30 minutes total for 5 games. They were on their feet the entire time. They were loud. Place was rocking and rolling. And, I mean, it's no wonder. I think we won 4 of the 5 games that we played there. It was pretty special. Yeah,
such an incredible experience. One of the things, you mentioned the fact too with the Cubs, I think you hit your 200th career home run as well.
Yeah.
That's just a cool milestone to hit. Take us back to that moment.
We were in Minnesota playing the Twins. I knew I was on 199. I knew I needed 1, but we were actually getting blown out at the time, and I was pinch hitting, and so it was a little anticlimactic, but it was still cool. Cool to, again, going back to getting drafted, right? Like, I hit 7 homers in 4 years in college, right? And
it's wild. I
think with the Mets in 3 years there, maybe hit 5 homers, 6 homers. I don't know. So home runs weren't really my game, but making that swing change in 13 and really kind of tapping into my potential and learning how to pull the ball in the air, the home runs started to come, and then being able to last another 10 years after the swing change to get to 200, I was like, never even thought I would have hit 1 homer in the major leagues.
Yeah.
And the fact that I think I'm at 201 is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty sick. And like we joke with the NBA guys that all the redheaded guys, they're all sharpshooters.
Yeah.
I'm curious, is there a gene you think maybe the guys can just stroke it in the show, with the ginger hair, the ginger blood helps you just be able to crush the seams off the ball? What's the deal there?
I don't know. I mean, there's not too many gingers, so
Yeah.
clearly I don't know if there's one that's really an outlier for us, but yeah, I don't know. I think just the passion for the game, I think is what helps drive us. So, talking to Owen Casey the other day, who, like I said, is from Toronto, which is hockey town, right? Like when you think of Canada and you think of Toronto, you think of hockey, and he chose the baseball route. And to hear his story of what he went through just to play baseball every summer, he's got that passion and that fire in him, and that's probably from his redheaded genes.
Yeah, you love seeing that. JT, man, we thank you for joining us. Keep playing like your hair's on fire, man.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks again, dude.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, appreciate it. That was fun.
No, that was great.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Yeah, super easy, right? Just a couple of gingers talking sports.
Yep.